In this video, you'll see what is the top 10 must-have units in this new anime Last Stand Fate update. Every units in this video are all obtainable and not from trading. I do want to know, what do you think is the best unit in this Fate update? Remember to subscribe and like, and with that being said, in no particular order, the first must-have unit is King of Heroes Sword of Rapture. Gilgamesh is one of the newest unit added, and he became one of the strongest light with his cheap placement, high DPS, and nuke ability in this new anime Last Stand Fate update. Gilgamesh's stats are max upgrade and max LR, 166 million damage with his SP at 7 seconds, making his damage per second at 23,714,285, which is extremely strong, especially with glitch, and he gets an ability at later upgrades. At later upgrades, Gilgamesh will get an ability Heavenly Sword, kill all enemies, and will deal 75 billion damage to all enemies on the map. King of Heroes passive, the King, every 50 kills or assists, buffs his damage by 15% and reduces SPI by 10% for 20 seconds. Alright, next unit is Pochi Made in Heaven. Pucci is one of the strongest obtainable units you can get, especially at later upgrades. He will get an OP ability and will be able to stun both air and ground enemies at later upgrades. Pochi Made in Heaven stats are max upgrade and max LR, 22.1 million damage with his SPI at 3.99 seconds, making his damage per second at 5.5 million. And at later upgrades, Pucci will get a new ability where it will reset every other unit's cooldown and bring back enemies to spawn, which is extremely strong. How to get Pochi Made in Heaven is by getting 3 moon fragments, which will spawn every 24 hours from the last time you picked it up in the legend stage, Ruined Warrior, and we'll be needing all 3 of the diary page. Pochi Made in Heaven's best traits are Glitched, Avatar, and Overlord. Okay, next unit is Pride the One. Escanor is the strongest godly and the best unit overall after him getting a buff entirely with his DPS, which I encourage people grinding for Escanor. Pride the One stats are max upgrade and max LR, 35.5 million damage with his burn dealing 42.6 million and his SP at 5.09 seconds, making his damage per second at 15,343,811, which is incredibly good, especially at later upgrades. He becomes fully UE with a huge range, which will carry you in most purgatory caverns. Not only that, it will also help you with your legend stages, especially if you have Pride the One on your first slot. He will be able to buff your whole team by 20%. Pride the One's best traits are Glitched, Avatar, and Overlord. Alright, next unit is Riku Kai. Rukia is one of the best support with her insane passive and damage at later upgrades. Riku Kai stats are max upgrade and max LR, 42.3 million damage with her SPI at 5.97 seconds, making her damage per second at 7,085,427. How to evolve Riku from Epic to Ultimate is by grinding the latest Wonderish raid in World 2, and I highly recommend getting this unit, especially she is a water unit with an insane passive where she will be able to apply Frostbite to enemies who gets too close. Along with each attack, she will apply Freeze to enemies. Riku Kai's best traits are Overlord, Avatar, and Glitch. Okay, next unit is 7th Company Captain Former. Benimaru is still one of the best affordable dark unit, especially he is a heal unit in this new anime Last Stand Fate update. 7th Company Captain Former stats are max upgrade and max LR, 11.2 million damage with his Dark Flame dealing 53.8 million and his SP at 4.19 seconds, making his damage per second at 15,513,126. At later upgrades, Benimaru will deal Dark Flame damage, which is incredibly overpowered for legend stages, caverns, and many more. How to get 7th Company Captain Former is by summoning on the World 2 Ultimate banner. Alright, next one is Boku Master Instinct. Goku MUI is one of the strongest godlies, especially with his team buff boosting your elemental penetration damage by 100% in this new anime Last Stand Fate update. Boku Master Instinct stats are max upgrade and max LR, 113 million damage with his SP at 5.58 seconds, making his damage per second at 23,297,491, which is extremely meta, especially with his insane team buff. Boku Master Instinct's info Divine Mastery. He will apply Divine Master to enemies that gets too close to this unit, and at later upgrades he will get an ability. When having Boku Master Instinct as your leader, he will buff your team's elemental penetration damage by 100%, which is similar how perfect seal work, but it is 100%, meaning all of your units in your team will always deal 100% more damage against the enemy type, which is insanely overpowered for World 2. How to get Boku SSJBK to evolve him to Boku Master Instinct is from the latest Tournament of Power Tier 5 and Tier 6 portal, and good luck to everyone who is grinding for the latest godly. Okay, next one is Grey Full Power. Grey is one of the strongest and cheapest units to place and will carry you in everything, which is extremely meta in this new anime Last Stand Fate update. Grey Full Power stats a max upgrade and max Valar, 28.2 million damage with his burn dealing 3.8 million and his SP at 3.3 seconds, making his damage per second at 18,787,878. At later upgrades, Grey Full Power will get an ability meditation. This unit meditates, stopping attacks but gaining 20% more damage per wave, which has no cap. Buff is lost after one wave passes, damage resets, cooldown resets per wave. Grey Full Power's passive Raw Power, his crit chance will be times 1.4 and times 1.6 crit damage if unit is the only one within his range. If unit has allies / other units in range, his damage will lessen by 40%. Alright, next one is True Curse King. Sukuna is still one of the best damage per second godly with his nuke abilities at later upgrades and team buff. True Curse King stats a max upgrade and max Valar, 27.3 million damage with his dismantle dealing 62.4 million and his SP at 6.12 seconds, making his damage per second at 14,656,862, which is insanely strong. When having True Curse King as your leader, he will buff your team's range by 35%, which is incredibly good. Do keep in mind that you can only have one leader buff by equipping one of the godlies in the first slot. How to get True Curse King is by equipping all of the 7 Deadly Sins evolved units, Pride Noon and Megami evolve, and talk to Sukuna at the summon area at World 2. When done correctly, you should be able to evolve your Sukuna. At the last upgrade, he will get a manual ability where he will be able to nuke the enemies. Okay, next unit is Boku Dark Resentful. Goku Black is still the best heal unit, especially with this element, always dealing 200% more damage against any type of enemy, and at the same time, he is extremely cheap to place in this new anime Last Stand Fate update. Boku Dark Resentful stats a max upgrade and max Valar, 17.2 million damage with his Dark Flame dealing 75.2 million with his SP at 2.65 seconds, making his damage per second at 34,867,924, which is insanely overpowered, so I highly recommend to get this unit, especially with his overpower element always dealing 200% more damage against any type of enemy. Boku Dark Resentful info: after killing a boss, he will gain 25% more damage for 10 seconds. How to get Boku Dark Resentful is from the Raid Central Act 6, and he has a 1% drop chance, but he has a pity where you can get him after 60 raids. Alright, next one is Ichigo Moonless Sky. Ichigo is still one of the strongest godlies, especially he is affordable to place with an extremely strong base stats with his great passive in this new anime Last Stand Fate update. Ichigo Moonless Sky stats a max upgrade and max Valar, 37.3 million damage with his Dark Flame dealing 179 million, his SP at 9.36 seconds, making his damage per second at 23,108,874. Ichigo Moonless Sky's passive God is Dead. He will increase 10% damage and increase 5% crit chance for all units in range, which is insanely good. With Ichigo Moonless Sky only being 650 yen to place down, which is extremely strong for caverns, portals, legend stages, and many more. If you have Ichigo Moonless Sky on your first slot, he will be able to buff your whole team by 50% for only the first 5 waves, which is the worst ever team buff, so I highly recommend to not have him as your leader. Ichigo Moonless Sky's best traits are Glitch, Avatar, and Overlord. Okay, next unit is Fused Warrior Blue. Vegeta Blue is one of the newest units you can evolve, and he became one of the strongest water unit, especially on how cheap he is to place and upgrade in this new anime Last Stand Fate update. Use Warrior Blue stats at max upgrade and max Valar, 125 million damage with his SP at 7.17 seconds, making his damage per second at 9,707,112. Use Warrior Blue's passive he will gain 100% damage on placement, although minus 5% bonus damage per wave, wave 1 to 14 minus 30% max, wave 15 plus, his bonus damage will lessen by 70%. Fuse Warrior Blue's ability Final Blast, his attack applies 10 electrified ticks, each dealing 10 times of Fuse Warrior Blue's damage. Alright, next unit is King Pendragon Altar. Saber is one of the newest unit that got an evolution, and she became one of the strongest dark element units, especially with her insane cone AoE nuke. King Pendragon Altar stats at max upgrade and max Valar, 27.7 million damage with her SPA at 4.1 seconds, making her damage per second at 6,756,097. At later upgrades, Saber will get an ability Victory Blade. When activated, it will deal 15 billion damage to enemies in a cone AoE. She then buffs herself by 25% damage and reduces her SPA by 20% for 60 seconds. King Pendragon Altar passive increase her base crit rate by 50% and increase her crit damage by 150%. Okay, next one is Strongest Sorcerer Unsealed. Gojo is still one of the most overpowered unit with his slow and how incredibly insane he is on placement in this new anime Last Stand Fate update. Strongest Sorcerer Unsealed stats at max upgrade and max LR, 53 million damage with his SPA at 5.82 seconds, making his damage per second at 9,106,529, which is incredibly overpowered, especially he is already strong with his time stop ability that he gets at later upgrades. At upgrade 3, Gojo will get Unlimited Void, where you can manually time stop ability and freeze every enemy in his range and can be activated every 25 seconds in the 3 times speed, which is insanely strong, especially when you are trying to clutch in those legend stages. At the last upgrade, Strongest Sorcerer Unsealed will get a nuke ability where he will deal 8 billion damage upon activation. Alright, next one is Fuse Sky Full Power. Fuse Zamasu is one of the best nature unit with its overwhelming stats as he becomes full AoE at later upgrades in this new anime Last Stand Fate update. Fuse Sky Full Power stats at max upgrade and max LR, 81 million damage with his SPA at 5.93 seconds, making his damage per second at 13,659,359, which is insanely good, especially he becomes full AoE at later upgrades. How to get Fuse Sky Full Power is by having both Goku Black, which you can get from the Raid Central Act 6, and he has a 1% drop chance, but he has a pity where you can get him after 60 raids. You will also need Apprentice Kai Madness, which you evolved him from Apprentice Kai, which you can get from the banner too. Fuse Sky Full Power applies fear on enemies, which stuns enemies for 1 second each and deal 10% more damage to them. Okay, next one is Flame Breather Demonic. Rengoku is one of the strongest burn unit, especially with his passive Flame inflicting 3 times more stronger, which is extremely meta. Flame Breather Demonic stats at max upgrade and max LR, 23.7 million damage with his burn dealing 85.4 million and his SPA at 7.67 seconds, making his damage per second at 14,224,250. Flame Breather's demonic passive Flame Hasira. Rengoku's flames inflicted are 3 times stronger, which is one of the strongest passive. Flame Breather Demonic's ability Demon Burst. Flame Breather transforms and increases DOT damage multiplier to 500% and doesn't stack with the initial 300%. Alright, next one is Rogue Lancer. Lancer is one of the newest battle pass unit added, and he became one of the strongest, especially with his insane stats, and he has a nuke ability at later upgrades in this new anime Last Stand Fate update. Rogue Lancer stats at max upgrade and max LR, 38.5 million damage with his lightning dealing 13.4 million and his SPA at 3.8 seconds, making his damage per second at 13,657,894, which is extremely meta, especially he becomes full AoE at later upgrades. At later upgrades, Rogue Lancer will get an ability, Guy Bulge. When activated, he will deal 30 billion damage to all enemies in his range. Rogue Lancer's passive, each crit has a 15% more to double crit damage. How to get Rogue Lancer is from completing the latest level 100 battle pass. Okay, next one is Black Swordsman Berserk. Guts is still one of the strongest dark units, especially he will become full AoE hybrid and will deal hemorrhage damage at later upgrades in this new anime Last Stand Fate update. Black Swordsman Berserk stats: a max upgrade and max LR, 27.8 million damage with its Hemorrhage dealing 39 million, and its SP at 6.81 seconds, making his damage per second at 9,809,104. Which is insanely great, especially you can buff his Hemorrhage even more with Soul once you get to World 2, and at later upgrades he becomes fully AoE, which will be useful for Legend stages and Caverns. The best traits you can have on Black Swordsman Berserk are Glitched, Avatar, and Overlord. Finally, the last unit is Aizen Mugen. Aizen is one of the strongest units with this insanely good passive as he becomes fully AoE at later upgrades and will be able to hit both air and ground enemies. Aizen Mugen stats: a max upgrade and max LR, 35.5 million damage with his SP at 7.51 seconds, making his damage per second at 4,727,030, which is insanely good, especially with his passive, Overwhelming Ryatsu. Every kill he gets, it will increase his damage by 0.2% up to 300%, which is extremely strong for a leaderboard runs, and I highly recommend to get Aizen Mugen. How to evolve Aizen to Aizen Mugen is by completing the quest from Mori Kurosaka to conquer the stun in the latest secret Soul King Palace portal that you can get from the Wonderish raid. Aizen Mugen's best traits are Glitched, Avatar, and Overlord. That was everything for this video on the top 10 must-have units in Anime Last Stand paid update. I hope this video helped you in some sort of way. Remember to subscribe and like, and I will see you in my next one. Bye bye.